Hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and we're at the start of another weekly reading vlog, and this time we are at the start of Get a Clue. Now if you don't know what Get a Clue is, it is a month-long readathon that's being hosted by Rainey. Honestly, the amount of work she has done is phenomenal. I am a co-host and my team is Miss Peacock. This is actually the second time I'm doing this intro. I originally started this vlog on the 31st of January because we were going to be able to start reading books for the readathon from my time, 5 PM. Worked out great for me because I was going to work and things, but then I got really ill. I'm still recovering, I'm still really not feeling great. I mean, it's only the 2nd of February now. I'm not fully 100% with it, so if I sound a little bit all over the place, then you know why. But I really wasn't happy with the intro that I did. Also, I ended up changing all the books anyway, so we're deciding we're just gonna go fresh. The first prompt that we got is for the lounge. So the prompts are being dropped randomly, random times. We don't know the rooms, we don't know what the prompts are, we don't know anything, which normally, as someone that likes to plan, I'm getting used to it, you know, because I can't plan anything. But it's kind of fun. I have learned to embrace mood reading. The last couple of readathons that I've been taking part in really have kind of forced me to mood read a bit, and it has been kind of fun. But the prompt that we got for the lounge was to read a book with a cozy adjective in the title, which is probably the hardest prompt I have ever had to fulfill. Genuinely, that was so hard. I just didn't know what to do. I was checking all my books, and a lot of the stuff either doesn't have adjectives or they're dark and dreary adjectives. Like, it's not like I've got loads of books with cozy adjectives in the title. It was actually quite hard. In the end, I did manage to come up with a few, actually. I was quite surprised in the end. What I originally was going with, though, is My Favourite by Sarah Jolien Fardell. This is translated by Holly James. It's translated from French. Sarah herself is from Switzerland, but the Swiss French speaking part. And I did double check with Leandra to see would favourite count as an adjective like this, because sometimes it's known as a noun, things like this. So I was a bit confused with it all. Leandra said, yeah, you know what, I think it can work, so go with it. And the reason why I was going for this is because it's a short book, so I'll be able to read it for the room prompt quickly. Don't know when the next room prompt is going to open, and we can't go into the next room until you fulfilled your prompt for the room prior. And so I thought, you know what, a short book, but it's a mainly blue colour, so I will be able to get an extra 100 points for this. So the way the point system works is you get a point for every single page read. So for example, this book is 167 pages long, so I would get 167 points plus another 100 for it being a mainly blue cover. And I did start reading this one. I actually started reading it that same day when I originally started this vlog, and I got 23 pages in and I had to put this book down. This book, I knew it was going to be a difficult read anyway, because there's a lot of, it's basically a book about domestic violence where we're following Janine, who learns at an early age to dodge her father's abuse. She realises like she's not going to get help from anyone. So I knew it was going to be a difficult read. What I wasn't expecting is just how triggering some of this was going to be. Like, it's really explicit violence straight away. It doesn't hold back. And one scene in particular, I can't do this. I can't read this. I am not in the right mental state to be able to read this book. I don't know if I'll ever get back to this one. I'm not sure. I originally had this on my TBR because it's translated French book, and I was really intrigued by that. I was going through a phase of buying loads of French translated work, but this is just, yeah, it was just a bit too much for me. To be fair, normally I'm fine with books unless it's unnecessary animal violence. I'm not normally that triggered by books, but this, couldn't deal with it. That's not going to happen. And then I was having a whole moment of like, what do I read? I had 3 other possible books on my TBR, like one as an ebook and then a couple of others on my TBR that I could possibly do. But then I was feeling really ill and I couldn't really concentrate, and I was like, I just want something easy. And then Danny, who is on my team as well, we're both Miss Peacock, we're the team hosts for Miss Peacock, put in how she was reading A Curious Beginning. And I just thought, yeah, okay, that's what I need to do. That's what I need, because this is a reread for me, and I read this, what, last year? I think about maybe February, March time, I'm not exactly sure. And I really, really enjoyed this book. This ended up being in, was it my top books of the year or was it in honourable mentions? I'm not quite sure. But I loved this so freaking much. And I just thought when Danny put in that she was going to be reading that, I was like, actually, this is exactly what I need. I need something that's light-hearted. I don't have to focus too much on. It's a reread for me, so it's just going to work. Also, we get extra 100 points because this is blue, but we also get another extra 100 points because it's a murder mystery. So in total, this book is going to give me 589 points, which is awesome. So yeah, so this is what I started off with. I'm now up to chapter 13, page 149. I had to change up. I just couldn't deal with it, and yesterday that's where I got up to with the reading, because again, I mean, it's a reread for me, so I'm reading this one pretty quickly. I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving being back with Veronica and Stoker. Originally, I was meant to be reading The Treacherous Curse this month, is kind of what I was hoping to read for the month. Third book in the Veronica Speedwell series, but treacherous really isn't a cozy adjective, and no matter which way I look at it, I can't make that one work. Curious Beginning it is, but also I'm actually really happy that I'm rereading this one because it's just really fun. I love it. So in this one, we're following Veronica, who is a lepidoporist, which is a butterfly scientist. She, at the very start of this book, is going to her aunt's funeral. She's, oh my god, I love some of this book. Like, I love some of the quotes. I've been mainly reading this as a Kindle book because I have the physical copy, but I also have the Kindle book, and because I've been reading this one on my lunch breaks at work, I've decided just to take the Kindle in. But I'm really enjoying this. Like, some of the comments in here is just hilarious. Something that always makes me laugh. Oh, okay, right. After the funeral, the vicar says, hey, come along to my house, we're gonna have some cakes and stuff and we want to have a chat with you. And she's like, don't really want to do this, but okay. Mrs. Clutterthorpe, the vicar's wife, is like, oh, I found a good match for you, you can get married and stuff, because this is set in like Victorian times, so women really aren't meant to be living on their own. Veronica says, Mrs. Clutterthorpe, I can hardly think of a fate worse than becoming the mother of 6, unless perhaps it were a plague. And even then, I am persuaded a few disfiguring boo-boos and possible death would be preferable to motherhood. I love it because honestly, same. Like, I love it so much. I love Veronica's character. I love how she's always outspoken. She is so not what women are meant to be like in this society. Like, she goes off to other countries in search of different butterflies and things, and while she's there, she sleeps with men as well, because she's like, why not? Why shouldn't I be able to enjoy myself? She's just like, you know what, I don't care. This is who I am. I'm not changing for anybody. I love her. But she gets introduced to this character, a baron, who says to Veronica, your life is in danger. I need you to come away with me to London. And Veronica's like, oh, I really doubt that. But you know what? I was planning to go to London anyway, and you're saving me train fare. So yeah, okay, I'll come with you. And then she gets left with this guy called Stoker, and she's like, okay, I'll humour this for a little while, why not? Stoker is not happy at all that he has been given Veronica to look after, but owes the Baron a debt, so he's like, okay, yes, I'll look after this woman, bickering amongst each other, and then they find out that the Baron has been murdered, and so now they are off, well, running away basically from what happened. They want to find out what happened to the Baron, but also Stoker's like, I think we should just leave London, because, you know, I'm meant to be protecting you, although he can't decide whether Veronica's the one that's killed the Baron or not, which Veronica's like, can you please just make up your mind whether you think I'm a murderess or a victim? I love them. I love their banter. I love everything. Veronica is one of my favourite characters ever. Like, she is just so good, and rereading this book, I love it. And also, rereading it now knowing the things that I know, the amount of times that is dropped in the story, fantastic. I absolutely love it. Like, rereading this makes me realise we were literally given these little drops of it here and there, which I very much overlooked the first time I read this, but now I'm seeing it, I'm like, oh wow, Donna Raymond, you did a good job here. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this book, so that's great. I then started a little bit of Master Artificer. Now, my plan for this, when I was talking about this in my TBR video, Rainey commented saying that this could potentially work for a prompt, but it would be an earlier prompt. Now, this is a big ass book, so I was planning to read and chip away at this in the mornings before work, with the idea that I would then stop when I got to 49%. For this to work as a prompt later on, you cannot have read more than 49% by the time the prompt dropped. And so my idea was to read a little bit at it, 49%, and then wait for a prompt that then this works, and then I can just like breeze through the rest of it. That's what I was thinking. However, as I've not been feeling great, so I've not read much of this at all. I am up to chapter 2, page 22. What I really like about this though, it's the second book in a series, and we do get a recap of the first book, which I think is really good. The first book is Master of Sorrows, and I really like it. It's kind of traditional fantasy. That first book, nothing's new about it. We've seen it done before. What is different is the belief system, also the fact that this is a villain's origin story. I kind of agree with him. It's a really good book. Like, I really enjoyed it. I reread it a few months ago and then wanted to read this one and continue on. It's one of those things, when it came up in my TBR game, like, I didn't want it to come up straight away because of this month. I didn't want to be reading a massive chunky book when I don't know how quickly prompts are going to be dropped and things like this. But at the same time, I am really looking forward to continuing on with this story. Will I get loads of this read? I don't know. It depends how I'm feeling. Like, if I'm feeling a bit more like I've got more energy tomorrow, great, but I haven't edited in a while either. So last week's vlog, I started editing and then I started getting ill and I've not really worked on it, so I definitely need to get back into editing. I don't think I'm actually going to be able to read much of Master Artificer this week at all, unfortunately, but that's just because I got sick. There is really not much I can do about that. I don't know if I mentioned it in the original intro to this or whether it was at the end of last week's vlog, but unfortunately don't have an immune system, so it's just every time I'm at work at the minute, somebody's off sick with this cold flu virusy thing that's going around, and so then I'm getting it again, and it's so frustrating, but like, there is nothing I can do about it. We'll see. We will just take our time. If it means that things go up a little bit late, then unfortunately they go up a little bit late. There's not much I can do about it. I think it should be okay because I don't have loads of last week's vlog left to edit, and I do have a couple days off coming up, so I might just save it for my days off. But I am going to read more of A Curious Beginning when I'm at work today. I should be able to get quite a nice amount of like chill reading time in, fingers crossed. So I would really like to make a good progress with this, if not finish it out. Get it finished sooner rather than later, so that then I can go back into reading this one while we then wait for the next room to come available. Again, I don't know when that is. It could be tomorrow for all I know. I've got no idea. But yeah, I'm really liking this. Danny really liked it as well, which I'm really pleased with. I'm glad she liked it. This is the first time that she's read this, and I love this series so much. Bit of a long intro, but I feel happier with this intro than what I had before, especially because I have changed books and things, and I also didn't really explain anything properly, so now we're done. This is good. Apparently the first prompt we had, the cozy adjective, is the hardest prompt, so now that's done, so hopefully here on out will be easier prompts and stuff. I mean, it was definitely an interesting one. It's not one I could ever guessed that would become a prompt, like, and honestly it makes me go, I've got no idea what these other prompts are going to be. There are 9 prompts in total, 1 for each room. If you don't know, it's all based on the game Clue or Cluedo. I'm really excited for it. I'm really enjoying it, and the idea is that whatever team submits the most points, so the most books read and things like this for the room, they get more clues given to us. So at the end of each room we get given 2 clues, and then the idea is that whoever is the highest gets an extra additional clue to help you in trying to solve who murdered the butler. But I'm having loads of fun with it. I think it's really good. I think it's so clever with what she's done. I'm really excited. That is all done. I need to start getting myself ready, so I'm going to do that. I hope you're all doing really well. Let me know if you're taking part in Get a Clue and whose team you're on. And what did you read for that first prompt? I'd love to know. And I will check back in when I've read some more of A Curious Beginning. I'm really enjoying that book. It's just, you know what, rereading when you're ill is so good. Like, it's so nice to just chill out, cozy up with a book and characters you already know. You know you're going to enjoy it. Like, it is the best. It is the best feeling. Good afternoon. I am feeling so much better compared to how I was yesterday, which is amazing. I do just have this really god-awful headache right now though. Like, I genuinely cannot seem to shift it, which is not great, but you know what, I will take small wins where we can get them. So right, okay, what was I gonna say? I did finish A Curious Beginning, and oh my god, is it good that I did, because we had another room drop. I was not expecting it to be so soon, and then I thought about it and I'm like, wait a minute, there are going to be 9 rooms with 9 prompts in the month of February, which is only 28 days. They're gonna be every 3 days on average. This month of February is going to be dedicated to short books, because I have been mentioning throughout January anyway that I didn't want to be reading, like rush reading things. I like taking my time. It was good that I decided to go with a reread, and I decided to just like finish it out yesterday, and I did. Honestly, work was dead. It was surprisingly dead. Like, I was genuinely in shock. I mean, I loved it. I got loads read. It was amazing. As I was like starting to read this, starting to finish it, we then got a message from Rainy going, hey, by the way, host, just to let you know, in a few hours time, the new prompt is coming out. And we're like, what? Excuse me? I am not ready. I am not ready. So I had to like try and squeeze this in so that I could get it, because the idea is you can't move on to the next room until you finish reading a prompt for until you finish reading a book for that prompt, and then once you finish it you can then move on to the room. So I was like, wait a minute, I now need to hurry up and get a wiggle on. So we have the second room that has been unlocked, which is the conservatory, and the prompt for the conservatory is to read a book with glass on the cover. It could be windows, it could be sunglasses, it could be like literally a glass cups. In addition to that, because we're going through the secret passageway that connects the lounge and the conservatory, there was a spinner wheel which Rainy did for us, and there were 3 different options, and the spinner wheel could either give you something really good, it could give you another challenge, or it could be something more difficult. I think it was the challenge we got, and on top of the prompt of a glass on the cover, but not in the title, it had to be like an image of glass on the cover in some way, we also had to make sure it was a book that is within 30 pages of your previous read, either 30 pages more or 30 pages less. I was not prepared. I was not prepared. Everything that I wanted, so I decided to go for 30 pages less, because as I say, I'm going to be reading short books as much as humanly possible for this. It's going to bring me onto something else in a second, but I'll get onto that. And I was like, great. I was checking all the books that I've got with like windows on and things like this, and they were all too short. The only one that fitted within 30 pages is A Treacherous Curse. So we're just having a Veronica Speedwell reading week, which I'm not mad about, but this is a outline of a building here, so I'm gonna say like these little bits here, they're windows, okay? I had to work with what I got, so it was already hard enough as it was. So yeah, so I'm now reading the 3rd Veronica Speedwell book. I've already started it. I've read up to the 1st chapter. I just want to take a moment to talk about the bookmark. Oh my god, I love this. So Rainy created bookmarks and I absolutely love it. This is so cool. This is Peacock's one because it is blue, and I love this gold foiling and everything. Like, oh, amazing. And then the general, right, I absolutely love this, and I was so pleased it arrived in time for the readathon, so I'm going to be using that for every single book I read. I've started reading the 1st chapter already. It's kind of weird. I reread the 1st book and then we're jumping from number 2 to number 3. I did check number 2, but that they've got like this, oh, I can't think of what it's called. You'll have to bear with me. With the headache and everything, words are hard. A garden carousel type thing, as though there were no windows on it, whereas this one is actually a building, so I can kind of get away with it. I'm really excited for this one. Genuinely, the 1st sentence made me cackle. It was absolutely brilliant. It's literally opens up with, I assure you, I am perfectly capable of identifying a phallus when I see one, Stoker informed me, clipping the word sharply, and that is no such thing. Turns out it is, but like, it's hilarious. I absolutely love it. And you know what, again, with a headache, with me just like on the path to recovery, which is thank God, but these books are just so easy and light. I know the characters. Like this one, as much as it's going to be new to me to read, it's still not going to take too much concentration that I won't be able to give it. But I'm thinking to myself, I need to try and get this done ASAP, because they did the room prompt last night. So for me, it was like about 11 o'clock last night. I've got, what, maybe 2 days before potentially another one. Now that I'm thinking about, okay, we've got 9, they've got to be on average about every 3 days, maybe even sooner in some respects. I've got to think about this, so I'm going to be reading this one. Also decided to download it on Kindle. Originally I only had it in paperback form, but I've decided to download it in Kindle so that I can take this to work and hopefully be able to read it on work. Also, that way it's on my phone so I can just pick it up. So I think I'm just gonna have to read at every single opportunity. Me not thinking it through when I was choosing my books for the 1st prompt, didn't think about the fact that actually these rooms, they're not going to be open for long. I mean, thankfully it was a reread, so this was a really quick read for me, and hopefully I will fly through this. And this was actually getting really frustrating. So I said how in this copy amount of pages was 389, but then the amount of pages on the Kindle was 340, and in the end I had to go with that number. I mean, to be fair, I read it on my Kindle anyway, so that is the format I was reading from. I didn't read it physically, so it does technically count, but I had to do it like that to get this to work, because this book is only 331 pages long. I think I'm going to be going between the two. Because I'm feeling so much better, I'm hoping to be up a little bit earlier tomorrow. One, because I actually do need to get on with some editing, but then also hopefully have an hour before work to chill out and read, and I would like to read it from the physical. But I will also be going between the Kindle book, which I think the Kindle edition has 309 pages. So you see the problems that we're having between the different books. Kindle and physical, like, they've got different page counts. So I went with the Kindle edition of A Curious Beginning because that is how I fully read it, to then go with the physical copy of this to fit in with that 30 pages. Technically from the Kindle it's only 9-page different. Like, it was a whole thing. Okay, it was genuinely a whole thing. I did some we made it work. We made it work in any way I possibly could. I had no other books that fitted. I checked all my Kindle books that had got like glasses, windows, bottles, anything on the cover like that. Nothing matched, or it was going higher up and I didn't want to be reading more pages. I was trying to like go down. And then I checked all my shelves and everything and nothing was working. So I was like, you know what, we're just gonna make you work. Plus I really want to read this one, as we know. So yeah, I'm very excited for this one. This one seems to be Veronica Speedwell can't resist the allure of an exotic mystery, particularly one involving her enigmatic colleague Stoker. His former expedition partner has vanished from an archaeological dig with a priceless diadem unearthed from the newly discovered tomb of an Egyptian princess, just the latest in a string of unfortunate events that have plagued the controversial expedition. In London, rumours abound that the curse of the vengeful princess has been unleashed on the shadowy figure Anubis stalks the streets. What? Sordid details emerge from Stoker's past, and caught in a tangle of conspiracies and threats, Veronica must separate facts from fantasy to unravel a web of duplicity that threatens to cost Stoker everything. Oh, I'm looking forward to this one even more now, because Stoker is a character that I'm really intrigued with, and we get little tidbits of his past in the first two books, but we don't get to know much, so it'd be really good to unravel a little bit more about him in this book, so I'm really looking forward to that. Now, because the prompts are being dropped so freaking quickly, I have decided that I'm just not going to have a chance to read Master Artificer. It's just not going to happen, unfortunately. With me being ill has really put me behind already. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get to this. So rather than trying to force myself through and trying to finish this on top of books for the readathon, and then on top of when my cozy new releases books get released and stuff throughout the month of February, like, it's just going to be too much. I'm not going to read this, unfortunately. I did want to. Instead, I am pulling out books that are shorter that hopefully will work. So from my TBR, we do still have these ones that will work. So we've got 4 different ones. So these 2 were the 2 that were being voted on for the month. Miss Marple, Pocket Full of Rye, won by an absolute landslide. This is an Agatha Christie book, so I'll definitely be getting to this one. This one is only short, 249 pages long, so that is going to be perfect to read. And then these 2 are also short books, so that works out really well. This one is under 300 pages, this one is 247 pages, and then I might even still, I mean, if it can work for a prompt, try and squeeze this one in, because this one is 169 pages. So I am 100% trying that every single book I read has to be under 300 pages, preferably 250 and under, to work for the prompts. So that means we're going to be doing quite a bit of reading this month, and like each vlog is probably going to have about 2 to 3 books to read per week, with the idea being that they're all really short books. So that is the plan for this month. Slight change. The good thing is, so many of the books that were on my original TBR for February in the TBR game are actually short. So that works out really well. The only one that's just not going to get read, unfortunately, is this one. I had planned to read it slowly across the month initially, then I got told about how this would work for an earlier prompt, but considering that I've just not been able to pick this one up, and the fact that it's just not going to work. It's really not going to work. That is what's happening. So we're going to be reading A Treacherous Curse, starting off very strong with a good Veronica Speedwell reading week, which honestly I am not complaining about. I am so happy with, and I'm so pleased I reread this one. The second one I remember more of. That one's about a group of eccentric artists that get caught up and there's a murder and stuff. Like, someone is accused of murder and Veronica Speedwell and Stoker are trying to clear their name, and it's all to do with these eccentric artists and things. And honestly that was really fun, but I do remember a lot more of it, so I'm very happy to have just reread the first one to go into the third. And you know what? Hell, maybe the next prompt for this week because I imagine there'll be one more this week. Maybe that will also work for like another Veronica Speedwell, and we can really round out this week with just Veronica Speedwell book. That would be so much fun. The good thing is I'm still getting an extra 100 bonus points for this being a murder mystery. Okay, for now, I'm gonna attempt to try and do a bit of tidying up. My flat has been falling apart where I've just been ill. My partner was so lovely. He came around last night and he got in before I got home from work, and he did like all the tidying up for like all the washing up that had been left the last couple of days because I just wasn't feeling up to it and stuff, and he just kind of got it all done, and I was like, oh, that's so nice. That's the only downside to living alone when you're ill, is that everything's still gonna sit there waiting for you. So it's just so like, oh. Okay, so yeah, so we'll see what I actually get read out of this lot, if it can work. I mean, definitely gonna still be reading this one regardless because it was been voted on, so I definitely will be reading that one. I have been told that this one should work for a prompt at some point, so I'm very intrigued to see how that would work, and I would also get an extra 100 bonus points for a BIPOC author, so that would work really well. These two, who knows? Genuinely, who knows? And yeah, we're just gonna go from there. I don't know what to expect, but I'm also kind of looking forward to a month of just reading short books. I think that will be quite nice anyway, and I was thinking about it and slightly worrying yesterday with, oh my god, these prompts are going so much quicker than what I thought. I'm not gonna be able to keep up with this, and you know, I'm meant to be like the lead detective for my team and I'm just really not doing so well, and I'm just like, oh no, what do I do? And then it was like, wait, just slow your road, like just calm down, girl, like you've got loads of short books, get those done. So yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. After my existential crisis last night thinking, oh my god, what do I do? We're fine, we're good, we have a plan, and I'm really excited to be reading more Veronica and Stoker. Like, this is gonna be amazing. There was literally no b-roll before this one. I might put in like a clip of Hermione or something before this one to break it up a bit. Genuinely, I did the update, had a nap, like I started the vlog yesterday, had a nap, went to work, came home, went to bed, and then woke up and have done this update. So like there has been nothing that's happened in between to even give you a nice bit of b-roll. Okay, right, we are feeling better. I've actually been able to eat a bit more today, which is great because whenever I get ill, my appetite just flies out the window. So I've actually been more hungry. The problem is because I haven't eaten much over the last few days, my stomach is also in protest of like, what do you mean you're finally giving me food? Can you not? Right, okay, I am just waffling on for like no actual reason. So I'm going to start getting myself ready for work, and I will check in when I have made some good progress with A Treacherous Curse. I'm very intrigued by this one. I do love this cover as well. I think it's really good. Take number 3. We're doing daily updates for this readathon, it looks like. But you know what? I'm quite happy to try daily updates. Will that make my hour-long vlogs even longer, or does it mean that we're going to get shorter updates? I guess we're gonna find out. The first update was huge, and I think yesterday's update was still quite long, so I guess we'll see. You never know, you could get a 2-hour vlog. Let's hope not. That editing would be absolutely atrocious. That would take such a long time to do. But A Treacherous Curse, I am halfway through. So I did read a really good chunk of this yesterday. I'm now up to chapter 11, page 175, in anticipation of the fact that I assume that there is going to be a new room unlocked, so a new prompt drop, either this evening or early hours of the morning for me, because obviously it's all being released in Eastern Standard Time in the US. I could have that completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was EST. Look at me coming in here tomorrow morning to go, I finished the book and there's been no new prompt release. What do I do? That would be so funny. But yeah, I'm loving this book. I didn't really talk too much about the first book, A Curious Beginning. The thing is I can't say loads because you don't want to give away spoilers and stuff, but the main thing is just how Veronica and Stoker get on with each other. So these are historical mysteries, and I hope hope that we're going to get a romance between Veronica and Stoker, because God, I want it so badly. If this book is any indication to go on, that's not happening for a really long time. Like, it's such a long time. Because Veronica, you know what, she is a great character. I love her so much. She's so forward thinking. She is so set in her ways. She always believes that she is right 100% of the time, even when she's wrong. And she messes up. She makes mistakes. Like, these are amateur detectives. They are no way are they actually trained to detect things at all. It's just that they're both scientists, so they're both analytical, and so Veronica's like, well, that means that we can definitely solve everything. Stoker's a bit more like, okay, calm down, girl, we don't actually know what we're doing. But in this one, she's made a bigger blunder than normal, and it's one that is affecting Stoker. It's a lot more personal, and that makes me think that the romance that I really crave between these two, that's going to take a lot longer. I mean, there is 9 books out so far. Don't think they're like properly together in the 9th book. So it's the slowest, if you want slow burn, this is the series for it. I do love it. I do really enjoy seeing their interactions. I enjoy seeing them how they went from the first book having to learn to trust one another, being thrown together in these series of just happenings that ended up that they had to be together, dealing with a murder that was being solved, to then where we are now, where they have a working relationship because they actually work together in trying to open this museum for a friend of Stoker's. Also, the fact that they do keep getting approached about these different murder mysteries. In this one though, I can't say it's a murder mystery yet though. It's definitely a mystery of what's going on, but there's no murder as of yet. So I'm hoping it turns into a murder mystery, because if it's just a mystery, I don't get the extra 100 bonus points for this being a murder mystery. But I think it will end up with murder, because this whole series is a murder mystery series, so I do think we are going to get it. We just haven't had it yet. But that's another thing about these books, like, they're slow moving, they're really not high stakes. Like, this is a really nice cozy series if you want to give it a try. I really recommend it. I love the series so much. But yeah, so I'm intrigued to see where this mystery is actually going. It's a lot more personal. The reason why they're getting involved this time is because they've been approached by head chief of police for England, saying to them, hey, you're probably going to get a lot more involved in this than what you would want to, because of the connections to Stoker, and those connections, they're not good. And we are learning a lot more about Stoker's past, but it's also setting Stoker back down the path of drinking, of not being able to cope with the different things, because it really was very awful, those things that happened. We learn more about what happened in Brazil, which we know from the first book that something had happened there. That's how he ended up with all of his scars and things when he was hunting the jaguar, but also it is what ruined his name. And we know all of that from very early on in that first book. And then in this one, we're actually finding out what did actually go on there, and honestly, I feel so bad for him. Like, genuinely, he's someone that I can say, Stoker is not a nice person. He is rude, he is mean, his language is awful, but Veronica gives just as good as she gets, and I really do enjoy seeing their interactions together, and just, I love it. I think it's really good. I love seeing the way that they do have such good banter, and I know that what they're going through right now is very difficult, but I know they're going to patch things up between them and they will be back to how they normally are. But yeah, we're just in a bit of a, where I've left it just now, the things that are happening, I'm just like, come on, Stoker, I get it. It's all crap right now. It's bringing up all the memories of the past, but don't you dare take it out on Veronica. But also Veronica's like, all right, mate, when you sort yourself out, let me know. Until then, I like their character interactions. I just think it's really good. I haven't said much about the case and stuff, because obviously I gave you the synopsis about the discovered tomb of an Egyptian princess. I will say the shadowy figure of Anubis himself stalks the streets. I haven't really seen that in the London bit, so I'm assuming that comes a little bit later on. We've had talk about that, but it happening in Egypt, but nothing that's happened in London so far, so maybe we're going to get that. And we have had the interactions of talking with the people that found this tomb, the fact that the diadem then went missing, and all of like those different things that are going on. But yeah, that's kind of, it's more of a mystery of trying to find the person they assume stole the diadem, rather than any murder that's happened yet. But, you know, if Anubis is stalking the streets in London, maybe we're going to get that, and maybe there'll be a murder happening then. I don't know. I have all the theories and all the wants, but I just love this series. Like, it doesn't take much effort to read it. Really don't have to concentrate too hard on it. It's just so well done. The characters are well explored. The setting's really good. Like, it just works. It's a really fun series, and I'm so pleased that I've been able to have this reading week where I can just indulge. I did look into the third book no, this is the third book. The next one, the fourth book. So it is available on Kindle. I think it's like, it is more expensive, this one. I think the fourth one, A Dangerous Remedy, is like £8 or something on Kindle. I haven't bought it yet because I'm going to wait for the prompt and see whether it actually does work, see whether we get our Veronica Speedwell reading week in or not. But I have been thinking about the fact that I'm kind of behind. I actually managed to edit a little bit this morning. I'm feeling so much better, which is great. I've managed to edit a little bit of last week's vlog. I've still got a little bit more to do, but I'm off tomorrow, so I'm going to get that done. But I also need to film my wrap up and get that edited. I've also got my cozy vlog that I need to start editing, but I've got one more book I need to read for that, which is published tomorrow. So I'll be reading that as a Kindle book. So I don't know if I'm going to squeeze in a third Veronica Speedwell book because they are a little bit longer. And because I've been reading this one physically and also on my Kindle, it's enabled me to get through it quicker. But because my Kindle read is going to go onto my cozy new releases video, and I have to get that one read soon so that I can finish up that video and get it uploaded in time, I don't know if I'm going to be able to squeeze one more Veronica Speedwell book in. It might have to be one of the other short books that I was showing you instead, just to have it as a short physical read, something that I can easily read, get done, but still have time to also read the books I need to read in the background, because I need to start doing that. I've got 4 cozy new releases books that I'm reading in February. One is for the January video, which is coming out beginning of February, but just because in January I didn't have loads of releases, basically I decided to go, I explained it more in that video, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but ended up going for one that releases at the beginning of February. And then the 3 that I want to do for February's video, which is coming in March, they're from, I think it's like the 15th of February onwards. Yeah, I've got to get back into that, so juggling reading those as well as reading books for the prompt rooms, unless of course I can get those to fit for the prompt rooms. I don't know, we'll make it all work. I've got loads of editing to do. I'm a bit behind because I took 4 days off of doing no editing while I was ill, which was needed, but also I'm now really behind. I'm now 4 days behind, and there were things that I wanted to have done by now. I've got loads of catching up to do. I've got loads of different things that we'll get it done. We'll get it. I always do. I always stress myself out about it, but I always get it done, so it's fine. But right now my partner is drinking a tea that he just made, and I really want mine before it gets cold. So I'm going to stop rambling on now. I'm going to go have my tea, and I will catch in maybe tomorrow to say I've finished this and what the next prompt is and what the next room is. Like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. I do think this readathon has been one of the most intricately done that I've taken part in. Like, I think it has been so well crafted. It's impressive. I do love it, and I think having the random prompt drops as well keeps the anticipation high. I think Rainy's done an amazing job. But okay, yeah, I do want my tea, so I'll check in with you tomorrow. Couple of days and we have a new prompt, and I finished A Treacherous Curse. I liked this one. I will say this is not the strongest book in the series for me. So out of the first 3 that I have read, I feel like in terms of the mystery plotline, this isn't as strong. It ends up being a murder mystery, but it isn't quite as strong compared to the first two books. I think the first two books, well, the first one I love just because it's the first time we meet the characters, the mystery, the twists and turns and stuff was really good, really interesting. I really liked the second book. That one was very funny of what I remember. And then this third one, I kind of guessed a lot of the things that were happening, but I think this is still a very important book because this book was primarily focused on Stoker dealing with his past demons, confronting his past and growing as a character. And I think as a result, Stoker and Veronica are going to be a lot closer. They're going to have a much stronger foundation going forward now. So I think it was very, very important, very needed to be able to develop Stoker as a character. It's not one I can say is unnecessary because I think it is very needed to be able to develop our characters. So I am really intrigued to see where that fourth book is going to go, what mystery we're going to go on, and also seeing the interactions now that our two characters, they've dealt with the things that they had to deal with in this book, and just seeing how much stronger that's going to make them as a pair, I think is really, really good. I really enjoyed this one. So as much as I can say it's not my favourite, it's not as strong, I still think the first book so far has been my favourite. It was very, very necessary, and I can definitely see this being the foundation for them to be able to really develop and grow as a partnership together. So not just in working, but also potentially romance. And I think without this book, it wouldn't have developed properly, I want to say, or like naturally. I feel like this was needed to be able to have a very healthy progression. So as much as, yes, the mystery of it wasn't as strong, it was good. It was still really needed, and I am really intrigued to see where that fourth book goes. As I was saying, we do have a new prompt, and we are now in the kitchen, and the prompt for the kitchen is to read a book with a pattern on the cover. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I struggled. Well, if I'm being completely honest with you, I have quite a few books with patterns on, if we include classics, except I'm going on to my early shifts from tomorrow, and I do not want to be reading a classic when I've been up at 5 in the morning. It is just not what I want to do. I know I'm never going to get that finished, and I'm probably going to end up DNFing because I won't be in the mood to read a classic. So, decided that we're not going to do that to myself. I then had a rummage on the shelves, and I do have a book that fit, because we have this gorgeous cover that has like this foiled pattern in the background. However, again, I don't want to be reading the whole of this book in a short amount of time. That is just, as I've already mentioned in this video, it's just not what's going to happen. So instead, we had a rummage, we were looking, and I got this one, because this here, it is a pattern that is repeated. It's like a lovely like floral pattern, and I did double check with Rainey and the other co-hosts, and they all agreed that yes, this works fine for it in that little bit. That is what I'm gonna go with. This is Manor House Governess by C.A. Castle. This was gifted to me, so thank you so much. It's kind of a twist on Jane Eyre and Pride and Prejudice, but make it a gender twist as well. I am really excited for this. I think this is going to be fantastic. So we are following all Bronte Ellis has ever known is a life at St Mary's all-boys boarding school, where he lingered first as a student, then as a teaching assistant. So when a chance to forge a new life in Cambridge presents itself, he seizes it with both hands. Arriving at Greenwood Manor as the new live-in tutor, Bron finds himself welcomed by all, the gregarious Mr Edwards, his precocious pupil Ada, except for Darcy, the elusive, tempestuous eldest son. Despite the rumours about him, Bron cannot help feeling drawn to the one person who seems determined to avoid him. I'm really, really excited. I'm really intrigued to see how this is going to go. And it's not that long a book. It's still a little bit longer than what I wanted, with me saying how I want to make sure the books I'm reading are less, like 250 pages or less. This one is 313 pages. It's also mainly a blue cover, so I get 100 extra points for that, so that's perfect. This is going to be my prompt for the kitchen. I do think that going forward, I was talking about this on Discord, and thank you so much to actually help me settle in with a decision, because I've been thinking about it, and as much as I've enjoyed this reading week, because I've enjoyed reading the Veronica Speedwell book, it's been a lot of reading in a short amount of time, to the point where yesterday we didn't have a new prompt, so I ended up just not reading all day long because I just didn't want to do it. I had read A Treacherous Curse within 2 days. I read A Curious Beginning within 2 days, and that is just a bit too much for me. My problem that I've had with reading so many pages in such a short amount of time is I'm still working, I've still got editing to do, I've still got all my usual things I need to do, and it's been a lot. Like, I feel a little bit overwhelmed with the amount that I'm reading, and I think it's because, you know what, I would normally read the amount of pages well, no. is still slightly higher than what I would normally read. So I probably at this point would have read maybe a book and a half, whereas I finished 2 full books and then took a day of just no reading because I needed to shut my brain off for a bit. I've been talking about it on Discord and I'm just like, you know what, I'm thinking I might change to junior detective. So currently I'm a senior detective where I've got to keep up with the prompt drops for the rooms and things like this, and I have been enjoying trying to fit the books into the prompts. I'm just finding that I prefer to take my time with reading a book. I really enjoyed January, where I took a full week to read 1 physical book and then I would have 1 ebook in the background. I've been finding this readathon, as much as I love it so much, it's going against how I want to read. I'm thinking from next week I may change to junior. I'll still be able to get points for my team, it just won't be bonus points. I'm not sure, because I really am enjoying the prompts. I'm enjoying the anticipation of having a new room. It is just quite a lot to read in a short amount of time, and you know, as much as I was like, I really want to make sure I'm reading short books because then that'll make my life easier, and it would, it's not working for the prompts. So I think this week is senior detective. I think next week I'm gonna swap to junior detective. I'll still be there helping people out with their prompts, helping them to see if their books. Honestly, I'm so impressed with the amount of people that can get a book read so quickly for the room and then get an extra book read while they're waiting for the next prompt. Like, I'm genuinely in awe of how many people have been able to do that. It boggles my mind. It is so impressive. Thank you to Nell, you were an absolute star for just listening. So helpful, so thank you so much. But right, okay, I've waffled on a lot about that, but I'm not going quite yet because I have some book mail. These arrived this morning. Pretty sure at least one of them is from Denise, because she messaged me to say, oh, by the way, I got you something for reaching 5k, well done. And I'm just like, girl, you really don't have to, but thank you so freaking much. So let's just open them and see what's in them. Ooh, okay. Alright, right, let's go for the note first. Okay, yes, congratulations on finally reaching 5k subscribers. So glad that others have found your channel and enjoyed your content enough to realise your talent and subscribe. Can't wait until you reach 7.5 subs. Oh, that's so cute. Thank you. Oh, look at that. Oh, that is gorgeous. Okay, so this is The Bone Orchard by Sarah A. Muller. This is a book that I have been interested in for ages. When this first came out, actually, it is gorgeous. I love this cover so much. It is so awesome. And this one, I'm pretty sure is about, oh, can I remember it? There is a garden where the trees are made of bones. The clattering, ghastly harvest is tended to by the women who live and work at Orchard House. Charm, the madam, and her haunting beautiful charges. Shame, justice, desire, pride, and pain. The wealthy and powerful of Bonnegrand flock to Orchard House to spend their time and money, indulging in every excess and inclination except for Charm herself, as she belongs to the Emperor alone. Now the Emperor summons Charm to his deathbed to hear his final decree. Charm must choose which of his awful, faithless sons will inherit the empire, by discovering which one is responsible for his own murder. If she completes this final task, she will be freed from a life of bondage and servitude, but she must choose what is more important, her freedom or the taste of revenge. I'm really intrigued by this one. I think it's going to be such a good read, so thank you so much. I really love this cover. Like, that, stunning. I love that cover. Okay, and then we have, and again, it is from Denise. Happy February, wishing you an amazing reading month. Oh, thank you. And this one is a non-fiction book, one that I've been really interested in. This is The Five, The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper. And this is by Hallie Rubenhold. This is meant to be really good. This has been on my wish list for absolutely ages. I don't tend to read non-fiction all the time. It's something that I like to pick up, read from occasionally. But this is one of the books that I have been meaning to read for a while, because obviously the cases of Jack the Ripper, I mean, they're massive. They're fueled so many different things, plus loads of books having Jack the Ripper murders and things like this. But we're right, like this book says, the five women, like, they're really not spoken about. These women are kind of dismissed, and I really like that this author's giving them their voice and actually looking into them. So we have Polly, Annie, Elizabeth, Catherine, and Mary Jane are famous for the same thing, though they never met. Finally giving these women a voice. So yeah, thank you so much for both of these. They're absolutely Lovely. I'm really, really excited to read those, so thank you so much, Denise. But okay, that takes us to the end of this update. I will check in when I've actually read the Manor House Governess. Really, really looking forward to it. I think this is going to be a really nice, cozy book. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble, and oh my god, I just want to say a massive thank you to those of you that have decided to join Patreon. The video went live yesterday, and I'm genuinely just so grateful to those of you that have decided to join. Like, it really, really means a lot, so thank you. Okay, I am going to stop waffling out. Hit a bit of a slump, I'm not gonna lie, or like in the danger zone of having a reading slump, which honestly kind of sucks, but I could really feel myself just getting very lethargic towards reading, not really wanting to pick up anything, feeling a bit like nothing I was reading was interesting me, which was really crap because the Cozy New Releases video, the last book I wanted to read for that, I had started and I just was not interested in reading, which was terrible because I knew this was going to be a book that I liked and enjoyed and has since proven that yes, I am loving this book. Basically, the day of the update, the last update that I just did, I started reading The Manor House Governess, and I did get myself to read quite a decent bit of this. I think I got up to like page 78 or something. Oh no, page 82. And I was like, it's fine. It's okay. However, I just wasn't in the mood to read this book at all. I just wasn't interested. And then yesterday I attempted to try and read a little bit more on my lunch break at work, and I just wasn't. I was really forcing myself through it, ended up skimming pages and stuff, and I'm like, this is not good. Like, it was getting to the point where I'm just not wanting to read at all. And I don't think it was because of the book, it was just because of my mood in that moment of having read so much in such a short amount of time. Like, it really burnt me out, which I know sounds really silly because there were books that I enjoyed. It's not like I didn't like them, it's not like I was really bothered by reading them so fast, because at the end of the day I did love them. It's how fast I used to read. It's just I found myself burnt out on the idea of reading, and I was like, I know that if I don't read, then I am going to hit a slump, and I feel like it will last a while, so I need to do something. To be fair, I'm quite lucky in that when I feel myself starting to think, oh, I really can't be bothered to read, I'm quite good at being able to stop that mood from progressing into a slump by doing literally one of two things: either rereading a favourite book or picking up manga or something different, something completely different, to give myself that break away from everything. And so in the end, that's what I had to do. I had to put down The Manor House Governess, and I still wanted to fulfill the prompt for the room because this is the last bit of me being a senior detective, so I really wanted to fulfill the pattern prompt. So I checked my different manga to see if I had something that fitted for that prompt. I didn't. Nothing was really working for it, so I decided to just go with Solo Leveling instead, which is a manhwa. This is volume 4 because this is a volume I've been meaning to read for the last like almost 3 weeks now anyway. I was really excited to read this book just just never got round to it. And then with that feeling of, oh, I can't be bothered to read and things, knowing that I needed to get myself out of that mood, I went for this last night, and it was the perfect thing to do, because when I finished this, I felt so ready to get back into reading. So I'm really pleased that I did do that. I'm really pleased that I didn't try and force myself through more of the other novel and just read something completely different, have a bit of a palette cleanser. It really worked. For those of you that don't know what solo leveling is, I'm going to give the spiel. I'm sorry, I've been saying it so much lately, but we're following Jinwoo, who is the weakest hunter of all mankind. Hunters are these people that are able to go into these dungeons that are opening up at random points all over the place, which basically, if you don't defeat the demon boss that's inside, or like the dungeon boss that's inside the dungeon in a certain amount of time, there is what we call a dungeon break, where those monsters can then come out and wreak havoc. And Jinwoo is the weakest until something happens where he's able to start leveling up, and it's something that no one's been able to do before, so he's very unique in that way. I really like it. I don't know what it is about it, but I'm loving it. We're watching season 2 as it's coming out every Saturday. The episodes are being released, so I've been really enjoying watching the episodes and then reading the manhwa, and this was exactly what I needed, because it was kind of like a reread in a way. This is the first time I've read this volume, but I'm watching the episodes first, so it felt like a reread, and it also was a complete change in pace with having something so easy and light to read, with it mainly just being artwork, that it was exactly what my mood needed to stop myself feeling and like I'm getting into this slump. And the thing is, I feel so dramatic because I'm like, it's really not that deep, like, and I think it just kind of all came to a head when it was then to read this book, and I'm only reading it because it fits a prompt. I'm not reading it because I'm interested in reading it. I'm not reading it because, oh, I had this option plus loads of others that I was really interested in and this is the one I went for. No, it was, I've got this or a classic book or a really big book, which I don't want to do, so this was the only option. But it wasn't because it's the only option but I'm really happy, like, it wasn't like that. So I think that's been the problem with this book, because it's like, it's not that I'm not liking it, like, this is fine, this is an okay book. It's got elements that I should really like. We're following Bron, short for Bronte, who calls himself, he uses he, him pronouns, but likes to dress in a much more feminine way, likes to wear skirts and dresses and things like this. Feels very stuck in knowing how, like, he gets all these really weird looks whenever he goes out, and he's sometimes got to deal with those weird questions from people of like, why you dress like a girl when you're a boy and things like this. And so it talks about a lot of that. It talks about queerness in a really good way. However, it feels really surface level, and also I was expecting this to be a historical setting, but it's not. It's actually modern day, but it reads like a historical setting, so it's really weird when something like Google Maps comes up, because I'm like, wait, oh yeah, right, we're in modern day, we're not in the past timeline, but it feels like we should be in the past. The contradiction of the timeline, like where the time of this book that is placed, and the fact that I'm like, I like what this book is trying to do, but also it feels a little bit too surface level, and the fact that I'm just like, it's fine. I think it's just a combination of a lot of different things. I think when I actually read this book, when I'm in the right mood for it, I think I will like it and have a good time with it, because a Jane Eyre inspired modern day retelling that is queer, like, that sounds amazing, but it's just, I'm not quite in the mind frame to read this book. And honestly, the thought of reading another 300-page book, ideally by like tomorrow, it's too much. It's too much. I don't want to do it, so I'm not going to. I had an evening off where I read Solo Leveling instead, and I'm not going to. I'm just going to put this one down, and I'm just going to wrap up this vlog today, which is earlier than what I planned. I actually planned to wrap up this vlog probably tomorrow or Monday, but I just can't, like, I just don't want to try and finish another book in this video. You know, unfortunately I haven't completed the kitchen prompt, but I was going to be swapping out into Junior anyway, so it's fine. It's a shame, but it's something that I've learned about myself, and I was talking about this in Discord. Loads of people were getting involved. Even Leandra got involved on my Discord and was saying that, you know, it is, competitive readathons can be really hard, and it's just adjusting how you read, but also not even trying to adjust how you're reading, but just like keep to how you normally read and just trying to do what you can. Like, and I get what she's saying, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I can't read as quickly as everyone's doing it now. I don't enjoy that. I want to take my time with books and things like that, and I think because I want to take my time, I should just go for Junior and enjoy it that way. So yeah, I mean, this reading week has been very eye-opening for me, and it has just reinforced that I do just want to read slower now, which is really good, because that is something I wanted to do this year. So I'm really pleased that it's now, yes, we definitely want to do this. We are at the end, so let's recap everything I've read this week because I've read a lot. We've had Solo Leveling Volume 4. We have The Manor House Governess, which I started and got 88 pages into or something about there. And then we have my favourite, which I read 22 pages before DNF'ing because I found this one very triggering. And then we have 2 books that I finished. This is what I mean by this was a lot. This was a lot of reading to do in 1 week. So we have A Curious Beginning by Dennet Rayborn and A Treacherous Curse by Dennet Rayborn, the first and third book in the Veronica Speedwell series. This first one was a reread and honestly I loved this. Because of my own mess up with everything, I went into this one late, a whole day late, so I only had 2 days to finish out this book, and then I was so hyper aware of, oh my god, the prompt's going to probably be dropped around another 3 days time, I need to get this finished as soon as possible. I also finished this in the space of 2 days, and I think that's where I went wrong, and that's when I started to burn out, because if I hadn't done that, if I had taken my time and read this over 3 days, which I would have had the time for 3 days, I feel like I wouldn't have felt as burnt out as I suddenly got with it all, and I would have been a little bit calmer and probably then would still make the decision to go to junior, but would have probably been a lot more able to finish this book and get that done. That it's a mixture of my own thing, like 100%. None of this is on the readathon. It's on me and how I approached this readathon, and then the panic I felt about like, oh my god, I've got to get this done in time. Silly. Absolutely silly, and I definitely would go about this completely differently. For now though, we're just gonna call it quits as a senior, go down to junior, enjoy the time as junior detective. I think this is such a good readathon. If you're looking for a challenge, if you really want to get your TBR down, you want something that's going to get you reading lots and stuff, then do the senior mode of this challenge. And I know so many people have been enjoying it and they've been keeping up with it so well, and I'm so impressed. I'm so not that person anymore. I just like a nice chill vibey time, and that's where the junior detective comes in, because that's what the junior detective is. It's all vibes. You're literally there to witness the chaos and be able to just read your books, and the team get your points as you do it, but it's all done at your own pace, and that's a bit of me. I can do that. That is great. I love the concept of this readathon so much. I think the work that Rainey has done is fantastic and brilliant, so please don't take any of my experience going through this as a reflection on Rainey, because it's not. It's all on me and how I just did not think it through. If I had thought it through, I would have been a junior detective from the very start, and this would have never happened. So this is all on me, so just keep that in mind, okay? But I just want to say a massive thank you to Rainey for putting together this readathon in the first place, for doing all the work, and I'm so sorry I messed up so badly. Thank you so much for all of this, and I'm really excited to continue on, but just in junior mode and just proper chill with it. There we are. We had a primarily Veronica Speedwell reading week, which I've absolutely loved and adored. Really love this series, and I'm so pleased that I did actually get a reread in and I got to read the third book. I just wish that that was all I tried to do this week, but I've learned a lot about myself and I'm really happy with that. Thank you for listening to my ramble. I hope that everyone who's taken part in Guess Clue is having an amazing time. Do let me know. It's time to stop waffling on, so I'm gonna stop talking now. I'm gonna go. If you've made it this far, then let's leave a butterfly emoji for Veronica Speedwell in the comments below if you've made it this far or you just don't know what to comment. And thank you so much to all of my Patreons. Oh my god, I've had so many of you join. Thank you so much. So thank you to all my lovely Patreons, and again thank you to all of you that take the time to watch these videos, whether you're a Patreon or not, whether you comment or not. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch these videos. It really does mean a lot, so thank you. But my social media links and my Patreon will all be linked below, as well as Rainey's channel, so do check them out, and I will catch you in the very next video.